These hands used to tie shoelaces in seconds, knead bread dough without a thought, and write letters in perfect cursive. Now, they ache, they shake sometimes. But you know what? They still hold more than I ever realized. These days, I notice the small things. How long it takes to button a shirt, the way a pen feels unfamiliar in my grip, how jars seem tighter than they used to. Aging has changed the way my hands move through the world. They don't work with the same ease or strength I once took for granted. But with that change has come something I never expected: clarity. While my hands may not move like they used to, they still remember. They remember holding babies, comforting loved ones, planting gardens, creating meals, wiping tears. These hands have built a life. They've held joy, loss, and everything in between. And when I really look at them now, veined, weathered, slower, I don't just see limitation, I see legacy. Though today I want to talk about what aging hands truly hold and why their worth has never been greater. But before I could fully appreciate what my hands still hold, I had to face what they've lost. And truthfully, it's a long list. Tasks that used to take seconds now ask for minutes, and sometimes someone else's hands. Buttoning a shirt, opening a stubborn jar, threading a needle. What once felt effortless now requires deep breaths and, on some days, a willingness to walk away and try again later. I miss the independence of just doing it. No hesitation, no planning, no asking. There was a time when my hands were extensions of my mind, swift, steady, precise. Now they sometimes feel like a stranger's. They fumble, they drop things, they ache after even simple chores. I've learned to adapt, using jar openers, elastic waistbands, voice-to-text apps. But no matter how helpful those tools are, they don't erase the quiet grief that comes with the loss of ease. That grief shows up in unexpected places. Like when I try to write a birthday card and watch the ink wobble across the page. My cursive used to be neat, proud. Now, even my signature takes concentration. Or when I pass by the yarn basket in the corner, untouched for months. I used to knit scarves for every grandchild, every winter. But now my fingers don't move the way they need to. The needles slip, the tension is wrong, and the joy has turned into frustration. And for some, it's a guitar collecting dust, a wood shop you no longer enter, a piano you haven't touched in years. These are more than hobbies. They were extensions of who we were, and when our hands can no longer meet them, it feels like losing part of our identity. And here's the part we don't always say out loud: it's okay to mourn what's changed. We live in a world that pushes us to stay positive, to keep going, to focus on what we can do. And while there's truth in that, there's also power in pausing long enough to say, this is hard. I miss who I was. I miss what I could do. That honesty doesn't make us weak, it makes us real. And when we allow ourselves to feel that loss, we also make space to find meaning in what remains. Because even in the loss, my hands still show up. They might not tie laces or peel potatoes the way they used to, but they still fold in prayer. They still hold the hands of people I love. They still wipe away tears, mine and others. They still rest on a grandchild's shoulder or pat a friend's arm in silent support. And those things, they matter more than perfectly sewn hems or beautifully penned letters. Still, I won't pretend the shift has been easy. Some days, the frustration creeps in before breakfast. Other days, it's the quiet ache that follows me all afternoon. But I've learned to be gentle with my hands and with myself, because these hands have done a lifetime of work. They've earned their shake, their rest, their slow mornings. And while I may not control what they've lost, I can choose to honor what they've given. They were tools. Now they are testimony. Yes, my hands have lost some of their quickness, some of their precision, but that isn't the full story. Because even now, especially now, they still hold so much. They hold love in the purest, quietest ways. They hold the tiny fingers of a grandchild. Soft, sticky, endlessly curious. They reach for the hand of a partner, weathered like mine, marked with years of shared life. They rest gently on the warm fur of a pet curled beside me on a rainy afternoon. These are the touches that speak when words fail. When I love you feels too big or too small, touch says it for me. A squeeze, a brush of a cheek, a pat on the back. These small gestures have become the language my hands still fluently speak. And then there is memory, the kind that lives not in my mind, but in my fingers. Sometimes I pick up a coffee mug from a friend long gone, and my thumb settles exactly where theirs once did. The memory of their laugh, their voice, the way we used to sit and talk for hours. It rushes back through my hands before my thoughts can catch up. Or I'll find an old book with frayed corners and well-loved pages. My fingers know its texture, the way the cover bends, the spot where I always used to rest my hand. The story inside may fade from memory, but the feel of that book is etched into my palms. My hands remember even when my mind hesitates. And that kind of memory, it's sacred. These hands also hold wisdom now, not the kind that demands to be heard, but the kind that quietly supports. Like the steady grip on a walker when someone I love feels unsteady. Or the way I place a comforting hand on their shoulder, just enough to say, "You're not alone." Sometimes I arrange flowers at the kitchen table. My hands aren't as nimble, but they move slowly, intentionally, more like a painter than a florist. And I've come to realize, precision matters less than presence now. It's not about getting every stem perfectly aligned. It's about the act of creating something gentle, beautiful, and alive. That's the truth I never expected to learn from aging hands. That presence is more powerful than performance. That the things I hold don't have to be grand, they just have to be real. So while these hands can no longer knit the way they used to, they still mend broken hearts. While they can't carve wood or sew a perfect seam, they still hold space for others. And while they shake more than they once did, they still carry strength. The kind of strength that comes from years of holding on and letting go, of comforting children in the night, of waving goodbye and welcoming back, of folding in prayer, of carrying casseroles to neighbors, of wiping away tears, sometimes my own. These hands may tremble, but they're not weak. They've simply grown full with memory, with meaning, and with love. So if you're grieving what your hands can no longer do, pause a moment and ask, what are they still holding? What do they still give, still remember, still know? Because sometimes the truest power in aging doesn't lie in what's lost, but in what remains. Losing strength or dexterity in your hands doesn't mean you lose your independence. It just means you learn to adapt with creativity, patience, and a few surprisingly helpful tools. Every time I've gathered a collection of simple items that make a big difference in my day-to-day life. Let's start with the basics. Jar openers. I used to struggle in silence, bracing jars against my stomach, wrapping them in towels, even running them under hot water with no luck. Then I found a $5, 0 cents rubber grip jar opener that twists with almost no effort. Honestly, it saved my sanity. Another favorite? Ergonomic utensils. I use thicker handled spoons and knives now. They're easier to hold and reduce the strain on my fingers during meals or meal prep. You can even buy padded pens, gardening tools, and crochet hooks if you still enjoy handiwork, just designed for comfort and grip. And let's not forget about voice-activated technology. I never thought I'd be the kind of person to talk to my phone or a smart speaker, but now I say things like, play my favorite playlist, or remind me to take my vitamins, and it responds. No buttons, no scrolling, just ease. Sometimes people assume aging means letting go of independence. But really, it's about finding new ways to hold on to it. And that includes taking care of your hands, not just using them. Over the years, I've developed what I like to call my hand care rituals. Simple, nurturing practices that show my hands the same kindness they've shown me. A few times a week, I dip them into warm paraffin wax. It soothes the aches, softens the skin, and makes me pause long enough to simply rest. It feels like a spa moment, even in my own kitchen. On slower mornings, I do gentle stretches. I roll my wrists, stretch my fingers wide, then curl them into a loose fist. I press my palms together and breathe. These aren't exercises, they're reminders. You still deserve care. I treat my hands like old friends now, with gratitude, gentleness, and patience. And while I've let go of some things, like knitting or writing long letters, I found new ways to create. One of my favorites, collaging with my grandchildren. We sit at the table with glue sticks, safety scissors, and magazines. I can't stitch yarn anymore, but I can glue memories, pressing old photos onto scrapbook pages, helping little hands frame the moments that matter. We press flowers into journals, dip thick-handled paintbrushes into watercolor, and laugh when we accidentally glue our fingers together. These moments don't require precision, they just require presence. And in a way, they've opened new doors. Doors to creativity I never explored when I was too busy trying to do things perfectly. So if your hands have changed and you miss what they once could do, don't stop creating. Just create differently. Find the tools that help. Build new rituals of care. Try new forms of expression that match your rhythm now, not the one from years ago. Because your hands are still capable, still worthy of joy, beauty, and usefulness. Sometimes we just need to give them the right support and the grace to work in a new way. So go ahead, adapt. Not because you've given up, but because you're still showing up. And that's the truest kind of strength. After all these years, after everything my hands have gained and lost, there's something I've come to feel deeply in my bones. If I could sit down with the younger version of myself, the one who moved fast, who didn't yet feel pain in her knuckles, who never thought twice about opening a jar, I'd have a few things to say. So today, I want to share a letter to my younger self. Dear younger me, you don't know it yet, but you will someday. You worry about wrinkles, about sunspots, about how your hands look in photos. You cover them with lotion, maybe even a little makeup. You sigh when you see the veins standing out or the skin getting thinner. But you never once stop to think about what those hands will go on to do. You don't yet know the ache that will settle in your knuckles after a long day, or the way you'll fumble with small buttons, or how you'll need help opening jars that once gave you no trouble at all. But let me tell you something, those wrinkles you feared, they'll become proof of every holiday meal you've stirred by hand, every child's shoe you've tied, every letter you've written when a phone call wouldn't do. You will lose things, yes, the ability to thread a needle, the steadiness of your cursive, the swiftness of folding a fitted sheet, though, truth be told, you were never that good at that one. But what you gain, oh, younger me, it will be far greater. You'll learn that your hands are not just tools, they're memory keepers. They will remember what your mind sometimes forgets. How it felt to hold your mother's hand in the hospital. How your newborn grandson's fingers curled around your pinky. How your husband's hand fit perfectly into yours, even in silence. You'll hold grief in these hands, but also tenderness, laughter, hope. There will come a day when you look down at your own hands, veined, tired, beautiful, and realize they've held entire lifetimes. And yes, you'll miss knitting. You'll miss being able to unscrew a tight lid or fasten a necklace clasp on the first try. You'll miss the ease of youth. But you'll treasure something even more, holding your great-grandchild's hand. Because in that moment, when that tiny hand wraps around yours, you'll understand that life has always been about connection, not perfection, not productivity. These hands will grow slower, but more sacred. And if I can offer you one bit of advice, it's this. Be gentle, with your hands, with your expectations, with your pace. Because time will change your strength, but it will deepen your wisdom. You won't always be able to do everything, but you will always be able to hold meaning. And that is more than enough. Love your older self. There's a quiet story written in our hands, a story that can't be erased by stiffness or age or time. Our hands may not move the way they once did. They may tremble now or ask for help where they once worked alone, but they are still ours, still filled with grace, history, and the power to touch others deeply. They've held beginnings, first steps, first dances, first embraces. They've held endings too, final goodbyes, hands we didn't want to let go of. They've washed dishes, planted seeds, written letters, wiped tears. And today, they still hold stories. They still hold love. They still hold us. The world may celebrate speed and strength, but here we celebrate presence, the steady, sacred presence that comes when we slow down and honor all that these aging hands have done and still do. So if your hands feel tired or different or unfamiliar lately, pause, hold them gently. Look at them not with frustration, but with awe, because what they've held is not lost, it's become you. And that is something no amount of time can take away. If this story touched your heart, I invite you to stay with us here at Elderly Truths. This is where we honor aging as something beautiful, layered, and worthy of reflection. Please consider subscribing, liking, or sharing this video with someone who may need a quiet reminder that they are not alone and that their hands, their life, still hold so much. Until next time, be gentle with yourself and take care, one meaningful touch at a time.